dear. Yes, thank you. And I don't know if you've asked people to tell us where they're from and why they're
Well,
here.
Maria chimed in and said, "Where are y'all from? Can we share that?" I said, "Yes, let's put it in the chat." So yeah, and then tell us what
Yeah,
made you want to join today. Those are great questions.
excellent, excellent. I can't wait to see where you are from. Michelle, it's good to see you again. Lisa, nice to see you again. And Heather's coming in. Heather and I got to meet face to face last week. We were both at the Crude, the Live Crude,
Oh
and
yeah.
10-year anniversary. Yeah, Heather came up. Ireland. Okay,
I
Louise,
know.
welcome.
I was just noticing that too. That's awesome.
We're in Ireland. You can't just say Ireland, Louise. Well, you need to know the county. Hey, we have a lot of
South
great people.
Waterford.
Okay, thank you for that. Yes, I've been to Ireland and love it, love it, love it. I actually was brave enough to rent a car and drive. So yes, and I did a good job. I did not have an accident
Yes, I
with
was
all the
named after the
roundabouts.
airport.
Yes, Shannon
Yep,
was named after the Shannon Airport, so I
it
flew in
was.
Shannon just for that reason. So welcome, I'm Lynn Christian, the founder of SoulSalt. We're so glad you're here. We do this monthly call for reinvention. I've reinvented 7 to 12 times if you want to add up personal and professional reinventions. Passionate about this topic because there is a process, there are strategies, and then there's the uniqueness of you. And when we put those together here at SoulSalt, we found a secret sauce of how to assist you to get through the turmoil, the chaos, and the excitement that can be known as career reinvention or even personal reinvention. And along this journey, one of the people who's done that so well is Shannon Judge, who is one of our official SoulSalt certified coaches here. And so Shannon's going to lead us through today's discussion. We hope that you will stay in touch with us. Feel free to come to this free offering anytime. Hi, Heather. I was praising you before you even came on. It was really nice to meet you in person. And so we are here as a support team for you each month. If you're not following us on Instagram, please do that. Get on our newsletter. We want to be here. And if there's something that comes up in between these free sessions and you want to reach out, go to info@SoulSalt. Let us know what your questions are. We always want to hear about that. By the way, I have a book about career reinvention that is simmering on the back burner. Right now, we're giving birth to our coach certification track. And so if you are in training as a coach, you're thinking about being a coach, or you are a coach and you want to join our roundtable, you'll want to get on our list for that as well. That's a free offering as well. And one other free thing we do each month is we have what we call a courageous growth webinar. And I'll do all kinds of posts out on Instagram, and then people grab things like who's helping you train for your fencing tournaments, or who's assisting you to get past your false beliefs, or what about people who want to move like you, Lynn, but they have osteoporosis. So we've had a lot of interest in certain things that I've posted about. And so we have a courageous growth webinar that's going on each month that's free as well, where we bring in a guest and we talk about something that our audience has been interested in. So we're here to support you. We're here to be there for you. And we're so glad that you would join us and know you're home. Hi, Carrie. Good to see you. Yeah, so some of your familiar faces. So with that, I would love for Shannon Judge to come on, a very trusted person here at SoulSalt. And Shannon, why don't you just lead us where you want to go today, and I'll just be here to augment whatever it is that you need from me. So you let me know if you want me to chime in or not, okay?
Okay, perfect. And I always love you to chime in, and please feel free to enter the conversation anywhere, because you've been through this a lot of times, Lynn, and you have so many incredible insights that we can all benefit from.
Okay.
So welcome, everybody. It's so great to meet you all. See some familiar faces and some new people joining us. This call today is going to be informal. I've prepared a couple slides for us to look through just to kind of organize the information, but I want you all to feel really comfortable to either come off mute and speak whenever you'd like, put something in the chat if you'd like. So contribute to the conversation, because it really is about everyone who's here. This is some great information that Lynn has put into a really methodical program, so that there is a solid, repeatable structure that gives results. And then it also is really fed and nourished by questions from everyone like you, because we've all been through this process, or at least thinking about it. And I want to acknowledge everybody here just for taking the step of coming to this call, because that really is the definition of starting the process. So even if you think you haven't begun, just getting those wheels in your mind turning and showing up here today is a huge, huge step. So I want to applaud everybody who's taken that step to consider that there could be more, and what you could find out there if you just start to think about it and to assess. So with that, I'd love to hear some thoughts and beliefs and assumptions of anybody here that has about reinventing your career, whatever stage you are at in the process, whether you're just having initial thoughts about it, or if you're curious and have questions, if you have no idea where to begin. Our topic today really is dispelling the myths of career reinvention, and we think we all know that there are a lot of them. We hear topics from other people who've gone through it or who are trepidatious about it. Our imaginations are wild and uncontrollable at times, and sometimes fears pop up. So if anybody has some ideas about career reinvention, or some preconceived notions or curiosities or anything like that, I'd love for you to join in, speak up, take a minute to think about it, put it in the chat. And meanwhile, I'm going to go switch to sharing my screen.
Okay, and I will let you know what some of them are that are coming in. I'm too seasoned to make a switch after 30 years. And yes, that's a valid one. I hear that one a lot. And it could be 30 years, 20 years. For me, the first time when I really made a big switch, it was 15 years. So, and some people don't even put it from years. It's like they're after 40 or they're after 30 and they're like, I can't do it now. So yeah, we're getting some really good comments. So while you're working on that, I worry I'll have to take really low pay for a while. Yes, that is a myth that can get dispelled. It can also be something that could be true if you're not careful. Seasoned for 30 years, 25 years. Yeah, some really good comments here.
Absolutely.
Anybody afraid that it will change their life and the lifestyle they have does not want to change. It's the work, the thing that's sucking, your energy out. Does anybody have that one? Oh yeah, this is a good one, Vicki. Review personal transferable skills and how could they apply in a new role? Yes, Heather, okay, you're thinking about that one. Heather, type out the thing exactly how it plays out in your mind if you don't mind. And Vicki, I will tell you, while Shannon's getting her, you're sharing your backdrop so we can see it. So you're up that far.
No, I usually there's just a present button and they've moved it. So I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
yeah. So I just want you to know we can see it and
Thank you.
you're getting there. So don't worry.
Okay.
So Vicki, I was 15 years as a school teacher, and I thought all I've ever done is taught sixth graders. I have no transferable skills. And when I was in my first interview at Franklin Covey, the planning and leadership company, the VP, senior VP that was considering hiring me said, well, what I'm looking at for as you as a teacher is you know how to manage parents, you know how to manage students, and you know how to stay organized. So Vicki, there you go. You're a teacher too. Okay. All of those things translated, and I had just had an article published. He wanted to see my articles. He wanted to see some of my instructional design, and he put me right into content and writing content for Franklin Covey. So I got that job, and he could see the track record with teaching. And then later on, as I got to know him, he was also a teacher. So there we go. Okay, here's a good one, Shell. Yeah. So you'll let your family down if you succeed. Say more about that. If you succeed at what, you'll let your family down. That's very curious. Yeah. Okay, Lisa, you have a lot of things, a few things in mind, and they're very diverse from one another. You've taken baby steps. And you think you have the skills, or people won't think you have the skills. That imposter syndrome, yeah. What you're doing so far, Lisa, is really smart, though. What you're doing is thinking what you have and then taking baby steps, because we don't think our way to the next invention, career, reinvention, whatever it's going to be. We have to act. And so by acting, you learn some things. you learn what you like and what you don't like. So we can talk more about that too. That's a big one, Lisa. Thank you for all of these. Way to go, Vicky. Okay, so you might even be looking for how do I now function as an executive director? You made the jump. Nice, nice, nice. Voice discovery calls are both fake. Oh, fake career, side gigs. Yes. Shell, I'm gonna hurry on this one really fast too. When somebody first told me about coaching, I didn't know what it was. And the first coach I met convinced me I needed to become a coach just by what she had in her lifestyle. So when I would be on a plane working for Franklin Covey, going somewhere, and I would be one of their coaches because I worked up to being a coach, people would look at me and say, "You're a coach. So is it soccer? Are you a coach for gymnastics?" I mean, they had no clue what I meant. So yeah, we've gone a long ways. It's more of a legitimate, if you have my book, you can see, yeah. Yeah, I can see this, Carrie. So I hope you're reading some of these too, Shannon Judge, because I think you're about ready to take us away, right?
Absolutely. They are fabulous. Thank you, everyone, for sharing. It's so insightful. So I want
Yeah.
you to keep these things in mind, have an open mind as we talk through these things today. And as we can see from everyone's comments, and thank you for contributing, is that we all have different backgrounds, we're different starting points, and there are a lot of legitimate fears. Sometimes it feels like, gosh, I've invested so many years in this. Could I possibly do something completely different? We don't recognize that we actually, really do have transferable skills. And sometimes I want to point out the differentiation that Lynn is always sharing that I think is vital, is that sometimes we need a recalibration. And there are some people that start career reinvention and they realize, wait a second, I'm not actually looking for an entirely new track in my career. I want to basically recalibrate where I'm at. Maybe I want to take these skills and do something very similar or different in the same exact industry, just for a different company. So that's always something to keep in mind as well. So where do these myths originate that we've been discovering in each other? A lot of them come just from fear, right? We hear our own internal stories and we hear other people's stories, and it kind of, generates this internal dialogue, whether it's true or not. We all have limiting beliefs. We might think, I could never do that because we don't see it in ourselves. And a lot of times we come to reinvention and to coaching and someone else sees those possibilities in us. And sometimes having someone else's belief in us can help to us to stand more in our courage. Sometimes, as Lynn just mentioned, we have imposter syndrome. We think that we don't really have what it takes to show up and be this new version of ourselves, when in fact we actually do have a lot of those pieces. And a lot of times it is just incorrect information that's floating around. And I think a lot of times we see this incorrect information come from other people's opinions. So how do we differentiate the voice within ourselves, the reality and the truths, from some of these fearful thoughts, ideas, beliefs within ourselves and also within other people? We're hearing from other people, you could never do that. There's no way you could start over now at the age of 55. It's pure silliness. But when we hear that, and that's the voice that we internalize, we feel like we have very limited options, and that really is not the case. Lynn, I'm going to lean on you for a second. I always ask you the statistic because it's so fascinating. The most productive decades of our lives. The number one is again?
So the most productive, yes, if you break it down, 30 to 39, 40 to 49, 50 to 59. The most productive is 60 to 69.
Amazing. And the second most?
70 to 79.
Incredible.
Third most is 50 to 59. So if you're in your 30s and 40s, you're just getting started.
It's so exciting to me.
Yes. And if you're in your 50s and 60s or 70s, and I've even had 72, 73-year-olds come in for career reinvention because there's one more thing they want to do. So there's never a bad time in your life to reinvent.
Yeah, that's to me, that's the biggest myth right there dispelled. Fabulous. Thank you for sharing that. So let's run through some common ones. I don't have time. That's such a big one, right? Like I'm stressed. I've got family. I've got, a few hobbies. I've got work, and I'm exhausted, and I've got, my me time carved out, and I just don't have time. Well, the reality is career reinvention doesn't have to take a lot of time. So you could literally pick up, a book. You could spend 5 minutes a day, when you're working out or taking a walk or when you're in the shower, just thinking about it. That counts as time towards career reinvention. When you're in the career reinvention program through SoulSalt, you have exercises to do and a little bit of home play. And it's stuff that just really gets the wheels turning. There's a little bit of assignments here and there, but I'd say that even if you're in the midst of the program, you can do this within even 30 minutes a day. Sometimes you can carve out longer, but time really doesn't have to be something that prevents you from doing it. Another thing that comes up is overwhelm. A lot of times we do have so many demands on us that we just can't really fathom adding another thing to the mix. And we just kind of have to have that trust and that inner gut feeling that we are working towards something that's going to make it all better, that's going to help quell that overwhelm, that's going to lead us to something that's more in alignment with who we are and what we value. So it's a little bit of blind faith here and there, but going through the process actually helps, is part of the remedy. I think a lot of us have seen. We've talked a little bit just now about you are too late. It is never too late, as you've just heard in these statistics about productivity in decades of our life. Many of us are not even at that point yet, which is very exciting. Sometimes we do have these limitations that we self-inflict, thinking I can't do this. And I want to assure you, and I'm sure Lynn and Shannon and everyone who's gone through this can say, you absolutely can. It is a choice. And I think you just have to kind of believe that and just take the first steps, and then the momentum takes over and you're in it. So you absolutely have what you need. And things like Career Reinvention, the program, the course can back you up with basically with a roadmap of how to get there, a structure, a methodology. So you're not just pulling things out of thin air. There actually is a system to get there. Transferable skills. I think that's a big concern of a lot of people, thinking, hey, I couldn't possibly start over learning everything I need to learn. And in some cases that might be true. I don't think it's something to hold you back and prevent you from doing it, in my opinion or experience. But I think a lot of times we have these skill sets and we think that they couldn't apply to another industry, another position, and they really, really oftentimes, especially as we get older and become more nuanced and skillful, many, many times these skills can be reinterpreted and transferred to a new industry. And then there's also kind of this wide world of, oh my goodness, what would I possibly do? Like, I don't even know what else I would do. I have no clue. I know I'm not completely satisfied with where I am, but knowing what's next is beyond, the scope of my mind right now. So how do you even begin to approach that? Well, what that really translates to me, if we break that down, is that, okay, like, what are your values? When you determine your core values, that's going to give you a lot of information about what the possibilities are. When you consider the things that light you up and make you happy and make you feel alive in your work, when you start to think, hey, what is my purpose? Like, why am I here? How can work play into this? Or the flip side of that coin is that some people think, some people really feel work is this thing that I do so that I can go live my life. And there's nothing wrong with that. So career and work mean a lot of different things to different people. And when we consider what would I possibly do next, we really can break that huge, overwhelming question down and say, hey, what are my values? What are my skill sets? What am I passionate about? And go about it, by breaking down these digestible questions that are simpler to explore and to answer yourself. And those answers,
Shannon?
Oh yeah.
Finish your thought. I want to interject something here.
Please. And I think the answers to that huge question make it very approachable. Please.
Yeah.
Lynn.
Well, and that's where we segue. I think you're segueing too. If you haven't purchased the book, you can get a lot of answers about what do I do next by getting in touch with yourself. And let me just give you one of my biases, and then I want you, Shannon, to weigh in, because this doesn't have to be your bias. I actually feel like we have more success in a reinvention engagement when the person doesn't know what's next. They just know they need to move, because then you have pristine land and we can find something that's authentic to you. To Shannon Judge's point, it comes from your values and the salt of your soul, instead of you having something imposed upon you. If somebody comes in and they think they know the one or two things, sometimes they're aiming their attention at targets that after we've worked 3 months, they have to change, because they've learned so much about themselves that they're like, those don't fit anymore. What was I thinking? So I don't know if you have a bias in that direction, Shannon, but for me, I feel like the only thing you need to know before you start coaching with one of us is not what I'm going to do next, I have to do something else. I can't stay where I am. What's your bias there, Shannon?
1,000%. I really have witnessed, as you have, the clients who make the biggest strides and have the most success are the ones who do not come in with this, here's 3 check boxes of what I'm going to become. They come in and they get, because I think that's the coolest part of reinvention that myself included, nobody expects. It's a process. It's not you come in and say, okay, what 5 careers might I do? Or what 10 careers might I do? It's a process of discovering your real identity. Like, who are you? What makes you tick? And if you come in with an open mind and you really immerse yourself in that process, I feel like miracles come out of that. And you never know where it can lead. So I agree with you, Lynn. Are you there?
I went on mute. I just gave you a thumbs up.
Okay.
Yes, I agree. I agree with you.
Excellent. Oops. Okay. So when myths surface procrastination, which we know they sometimes do, it can feel overwhelming. It can feel like we don't know quite where to turn. What do we do? Sometimes it brings up really uncomfortable feelings. It can be scary to not know what's ahead or where this could lead, especially if we're the sole breadwinner for our family or a contributing breadwinner, right? Like that can stir up some fears. We might have negative assumptions or expectations, and they might be based on our experiences or others that have shared them with us. There is a lot of trepidation about leaving things that are familiar in the past. When we go out into a brand new world and we don't know what to expect, it can create anxiety. It can affect our sleep. It can affect just how deeply we breathe, our eating habits, all of these things. And there can, for some people, be a little bit of discomfort in choosing change over comfort. So that's something to pay attention to as well. Other people thrive in that. Would we disrupt our normal patterns and schedules, by thinking, oh, maybe I do need to learn a couple new skill sets, or maybe I do need to start the interview process, or even fit reinvention into my life? Sometimes that can be disruptive. Sometimes we'll miss the people that we work with when we move on. We might miss certain key aspects of our work, of our job, of the company that we work for. But, that promise of knowing there is something better is what fuels us. And sometimes these myths can have a physical response in our body. They can affect our heart rate. They can affect our sleep. We might experience headaches. Other people are energized by it. Sometimes it is like fuel and it's adrenaline. But some people do find differences in activity levels, eating. So it can be physical, which I find is very, very interesting. We talk sometimes about the emotion wheel. So there are a million of them online, much more detailed than this. But, sometimes we don't know exactly how we are feeling, or we might feel some type of disruption come up when we're talking about reinvention or thinking about changing careers. And if you ever are curious about that, I invite you to go to the internet and just type in emotion wheel and bring up a chart. And sometimes looking through that can help shed some light on what we're actually feeling and be insightful. So to reinvent your career, you need a map. You need to know, what are the possibilities? And that is what the program actually does for you. And I think that's a piece of what these calls do as well. They start filling in these destinations on the map and some of the pitfalls and obstacles along the way, and provide you with some tips to skip right over them so that you don't get stuck. And throughout the process, you can work with a coach. A coach acts as your thinking partner. A coach is your ally, and a coach is neutral. I think that's one of the key points. Having an accountability partner is key. You can have that in a friend. You can have that in a colleague. You can have that in a fellow reinventor. And the beauty of having that in a coach, in my opinion, is that this is not someone who's has a vested interest in where you go or what you do. They only want the best for you. So that's different sometimes than our family and the people who are closest to us, which just definitely is a distinction that we see. And sometimes a coach can be a guide to help you along this path, and when you get stuck, to help you keep moving forward and provide support and celebrate your wins. So as we just said, Career Reinvention, it provides you with this map. It's going to help you address these fears and these obstacles. And one of the key tactics to keep moving forward that Lynn often talks about is to keep learning. If you keep learning, you are progressing, so you're not going to get stuck. This is a methodical process. It's been tested and replicated, and it works. And it really does facilitate transformation when you come in with an open mind, an open heart, and curiosity. And as we chatted about a minute ago, it's really focused on a lot more than just the outcome and the goal. If you come in and you go through the exercises and the process, it really is an excavation of yourself. So you're going to learn what your values are. You're going to learn about these different facets of yourself and what you could potentially become just through the process. And that's when people really see significant shifts and whole new worlds open up, which is very exciting. A lot of people, most people, I would say, and Lynn knows better than I, that most people don't just dip into career reinvention and they're good for life. Most people go in and out of it. You might reinvent now, and 3 to 5 years down the road or 6 months down the road, say, hey, that was great. I'm going to reemploy some of these tactics and see what's next. Or, I tried this and it was a great experiment. It lasted, 6 months, 2 years, but I'm really ready to, make that big leap and do something different. So this is a tool that you're to put in your back pocket and be able to take out again and again, which is valuable. You get anchored in with accountability when you're in reinvention with SoulSalt, learning about your true identity. You are, not reporting to, but you're showing up and being present with someone who's going to check in on you and is interested in what you're learning and what you're discovering through the process. And it gets results, as we talked about. It helps you discover and get to your why. Why are you doing this? What are you looking for? What are you seeking? Where could this lead? So a couple quick tips about how to deal with the stuff that the myths bring up. So addressing fears and anxiety. It's not always easy. I put a little picture of a woman with her kids having a pillow fight, and somehow she's finding a little bit of calm despite that. So effective tools that we sometimes talk about here to deal with, some of the unsettling feelings that can come up or the anxiety are tapping. Some people might be familiar with tapping, and I've got a little diagram I've used in the past on the next slide that you can take a screenshot if you want. And basically you're tapping endpoints on your body, the same points that acupuncture uses. And through tapping and saying different phrases, it basically calms your nervous system down. And that helps us approach anything that seems a little overwhelming or scary with a lot more of our intuition, a lot more strategy, instead of, kind of freaking out and being ineffective. Somatic exercises are exercises that are becoming more and more popular. You can certainly Google them, that really get you back into your body. Instead of being out here and flailing and being full of anxiety, you come back into your body and it grounds you. It makes you more effective. And breath is another way, as everybody knows. That's a way to really anchor back into your body and find some clarity. And move your body, go out for a walk, take a hike, just get some fresh air. That's always super helpful. Some people like to write to release anxiety and stress. So feel free to get out a journal or, even take your phone out or your computer and just start writing. Sometimes that doesn't have to be something that you produce, just get it out of your body. That can be really helpful. Other tactics that are helpful to, deal with moving through myths and through a transition are to do some guided visualizations. There are some great free apps like Insight Timer, the tapping solution to learn how to tap. Their Instagram account is really great. Headspace is one that I've not used, but I know a lot of people who just adore it. You can go through Yoga Nidra, which is very calming and makes you feel super rested, a guided meditation. Other things, we anchor into our identities, as we've talked about. So it's kind of this built-in support and helps us keep moving forward. Going back to your why when you're not sure why you're doing something is huge. Think about all the things, visualize what this is going to provide for you. If you switch careers and you go into the future and you take these huge chances, why are you doing it? Where's it going to lead? So if you go back and you feel that why, that can be really helpful. And don't forget to get support. You really do need support through this process. So this is the tapping solution diagram about where to tap. I hope you can see that. So if you want to screenshot that, feel free. And you literally just go and you just tap your different points. And they've got great tutorials on their website and free resources where you can tap along with them on their Instagram. So that can be very helpful. And you can go from a state of feeling really overwhelmed and, having like an anxiety response to being very calm in seconds. So that's a nice resource. So I don't want anyone to think they're alone. And I think that's a mission of SoulSalt, is to provide support and help people see, like, wait a second, we've got resources for you. Many of them are free. Many of them are not expensive. And you have different levels that you can invest in. So if you've not checked out the SoulSalt Field Guide, that is a fabulous book that you can get right on Amazon. And you can go through exercises to learn, hey, what are my values? What are, parts of my identity that I might not have excavated in the past? A lot of things a lot of times we take these, as assumptions and think we know about ourselves. But when you start to dive in with a guide, even like this book, it can be really, really insightful. We talk about ikigai sometimes, which is this little diagram of finding this central purpose of the things that you love and the things that you're strong at, things that the world needs, what you can make money at, and how to put them all together. And of course, SoulSalt's Reinvention course, there are different levels of the course. You can combine that with coaching to make faster strides. That can be helpful as well. So here's a direct link right to SoulSalt's Reinvention, and that kind of breaks down the whole program for you, module by module, which I find really helpful. So you can get some really detailed information there, soulsalt.com/reinvention. And I just want to point out that you are always welcome to reach out for a free discovery call. If you have questions how this can apply to you, how it may be a good fit or support you, get in touch with Shannon D, and she will reach out and get you scheduled for a discovery call. And if anybody has questions or comments or anything like that, I'd love to address those now.
Yeah, bring those up, and while you are, I'll just segue off of a couple of things you said.
Sure.
Your fears and anxiety, you want to address those, and one of the reasons why Shannon's saying that is we are learning that when we look at those fears instead of running from them, when we really address them and look at them, underneath them there are usually keys and knowledge and direction that you need for your reinvention. So the fear is just the flag that's shining and waving in front of you. And then managing your emotions, some of these tools that Shannon's giving you, managing your thoughts, managing your emotions, you know that that's where it's going to be won and lost. If you keep your mind and your heart in tune with where you're going, that is going to be the path. Not all those little voices that play around that aren't your truth. And finally, the purpose piece of the ikigai that Shannon brought up. Your purpose doesn't have to be any bigger than I want to earn a living and live my life by doing something I love. That's it. It doesn't have to be I'm on this planet to do these 3 things before I die. They can be that epic, but really we're looking for the purpose now. What is the purpose now? Shannon, what else would you like? What else? I've not seen any new questions. Anybody want to jump in? You're welcome to jump in.
I'd love to refer people to the last month reinvention call too. It's like you had such great examples of people who are living their dream. They're doing the work that brings them to life. And I think that sometimes that feels like a very out of reach, unobtainable thing. But I think that episode especially was proof that, hey, people are doing this successfully, and they're having the kind of life they want. Yeah.
And to those of you who are worried about earning less, there is a certain percentage of our reinventors who actually earn less. I think about one of my first reinvention clients. She went from being the managing editor for Reuters with an office in Chicago and an office in Times Square to deciding that she was tired of that bigness. And she sold her suburban home outside Chicago and she downscaled. She could not be happier today. And if she would have thought that's where she was headed, it would have blown her mind. But over time, she started to analyze and prioritize what she needed. And she recognized she could live on less. She wanted less space to clean. She didn't need 2 big offices. She really listened to her heart. For other people, I'm one of those. It wasn't very long. It was like 18 months to 2 years after I left a corporate job where I was earning as much in a quarter as I did all year in my salary.
Wow.
Yeah. Akbar has a comment. Akbar, do you want to come on and ask your question?
Yeah, sure. Hi everyone. Just my question is this. If you've got if you are looking, well, in my case, I'm looking for creative reinvention, but I'm being pulled, I'm having different ideas each day on what I want to pursue. How do I kind of rein it in terms of having a single focus rather than having different ideas and putting yourself in different directions and not
Right.
knowing where to start?
Such a great question. I'm going to answer it, and then Shannon, Judge, I want you to answer it. Okay, we might have different answers. Akbar, here's my first gut response to that. My sense is that it's one of your superpowers that's owning you instead of you owning it. And that one of your superpowers is your ability to brainstorm and innovate and envision lots of ideas, which is super useful to have many varied, unusual, divergent ideas to pick from. The problem is that superpower is running overtime, maybe because it's worried about what will I do, or it's excited about what will I do next. And we need to add some discipline and some other aspects of you to that blend. So it's not just your innovator, your visionary, and your brainstormer that's leading the way. I think it's an oversized muscle that's having its way with you right now. And there are some strategies and methods that can be applied to that. And Heather, same to you. I know you live in the creative class too. And so your mind's going a mile a minute and you're thinking about, what about this? I could do this, I could do that. And I've worked with so many people that once we just settled in and recognized that was a superpower and we started to rein it in, like it was a beautiful stallion running rampant across the cliffs of Moher, Louise. It was there in Ireland running on all that green grass. And we corralled it and started to learn where it could pull with strength. Then we started to get somewhere. So that's my first piece. What do you want to say about that, Shannon, Judge?
I agree with all that you said, and it also made me think about how that's going to enable you to experiment. I think a lot of times people get a little fearful or a little anxious about doing experiments in career reinvention, especially when they don't know where they're going to lead. So I see that Akbar, I see that your gift, one of your superpowers of grasping at all these ideas and generating them is really going to help you go after those experiments and have more possibilities, just led by your own curiosity. I see the opposite at times where people are very constrained and they just don't know which way to go. So I think that you being able to lean into that part of yourself while finding some discipline really can benefit you. To me, that's exciting.
Awesome. Anyone else? Hey, Shannon, I'm really glad that you mentioned last week because we did have two guests that are one that has completed some reinvention and one that's in the reinvention, that you could kind of hear what their path was like. And again, there's so many resources we're giving to you. Shannon's going to gather them all and put them in the email that comes to you as a follow-up with this recording so that you can kind of sit with your thoughts. What I'm going to ask you to do right now is to think about what Shannon Judge has just shared with us. And if you've written a few things down, great. If you haven't, do so now. The challenge I'm going to give you so that Shannon and I can act as your temporary coaches today, is to think of one or two ideas that came to you during this webinar that you can put into action. So write those down in front of you right now. What can you do with this information in the next 24 hours that will assist you to take one step forward? Have you written it down? If you haven't written it down, please do. And then imagine yourself taking that action. See yourself stepping right in there and doing it. And then you can use this as accountability partners. You can just email us at info@SoulSalt and say, I did it. And one of us will respond back. We can be your accountability partner the next 24 or 48 hours so you can take that action. And you'll either hear back from me or Shannon Judge. And we'll go from there with that. We'll probably congratulate you, among other things. We might even ask you a question that spawns the next step, which is the power and dynamic of coaching, is having that accountability partner and that advocate on your sideline. So Shannon Judge, thank you for the beautiful presentation. I always appreciate how you systemically put things together. You address a lot of the things that we needed to hear. I really appreciate those of you who are on. Akbar, do you have one more question?
Yeah. Sorry. Just got if your career reinvention is to find something that's meaningful, how do you know if you found something that you find meaningful? How would you know if you feel fulfilled with the work you're doing? If you found the work that was meaningful to you, that's my question.
It's another good one. I love it when you come on and ask these questions, Akbar. So
okay,
it's a deeper answer this time, because in our methodology, it's a process of experimentation. And so if you've gone through the SoulSalt book, you sort of had some definitions and some arrows pointing at what's most meaningful for you, what aligns with who you are, your authentic self. And then we take that and create experiments, which are little dip your toe into some of these possibilities and try them on. Craft an experiment where you don't have to give a big dedicated amount of time. It's just a sampling, like when you go to the grocery store and they give you a sampling of the food. It's just a nibble. By nibbling and experimenting, you get the sense of what it's like. And when you get your yeses, we want to take another step. Where you get your no's, you don't need to step further. And so it is a process of excavating, exploration, reflection, recalibrating the next step, and going through a whole cycle. It's a spiral staircase of that, Akbar. It's not just a one and done. Because like you said, how do you know? Sometimes we don't know who we are until we see ourselves and feel ourselves doing something, and we step back and go, holy cow, that's me. That fits me. We've had one person who saw a pole dancing competition once. She was a dancer and a gymnast. And when she saw this pole dancing competition and she saw how brilliant the champion was, how graceful, how strong, she said in her heart, that's going to be me. I'm going to do that someday. And she did. And now she owns a business, pole dancing business, and a dance studio here in Salt Lake. So sometimes it's just a spark of seeing somebody else as well. But you have to experiment. You have to get yourself out there. It's just like dating. You got to try on a few things before you know it's for you. So Akbar, thank you. Shannon Judge, I know our time's winding down. Do you want to say anything more to sign us off?
Oh, I just want to say, just take those myths and toss them out the window. Like, ask questions, investigate, check in with yourself. And I can't wait to see you in the future. And thank you all for being here. It was a pleasure.
All right. Thank you very much. And we will see you, hopefully, as Shannon said, next time. And for sure, you'll be getting an email from Shannon. So watch for that in the next 24 hours as well. Please take care. Thanks again, Shannon Judge.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much, everyone.